Ladies and gentlemen, this is your host, William Robinson, coming at you live today from the studios of TLC, Talk, Look, and Communication. Today we have some special guests. We have the candidate for Sheriff Milton Busby Jr. We have Mr. Bob Sprooks. We have Mr. Al Counterman. And we have his lovely wife, April Counterman, today. We're going to discuss some issues that's going on in our community, ladies and gentlemen, why you should get out and vote, why we need a change here in Marion County, Ocala, Florida, ladies and gentlemen. And with that being said, we're going to give my guests a special round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, how my guests doing today? Everybody doing good?
Doing great.
I am doing fine.
Everybody doing fine. So I tell you what, we have we're gonna start with Mr. Al Counterman. He's gonna introduce himself and tell everyone a little bit about him, and we're gonna go around from there.
Hi, my name's Al, and newer to this area. We unfortunately had a daughter we lost here with a lot of bad issues, whatnot, that not getting any answers to. So at this point, we're trying to hopefully be able to make a difference here by backing Mr. Busby, and maybe we'll tell you a little bit of our story. We have the time, and everybody can see what's really going on in it before they vote tomorrow, and maybe we can make a change.
That's right.
Same reason, making a change, letting the community know what's going on inside their community that's been hidden.
Okay, Mr. Ball.
Yes, sir. Well, I've known Mr. Busby for probably 40-some years, and he was my company commander, and he taught me a lot of stuff. I showed him a lot of stuff. So I'm very thankful that he was my commander when we mobilized to Iraq, because he knows quite a bit. So, and I'm just very thankful.
Okay, Mr. Busby.
My name is Milton Busby, and let me tell you about Bob Strutt. He was one of the best maintenance NCOs in the Army when I joined, when I was 17. I came to see him one day as a Private E1, and I said, Sergeant Strutt, let me get the keys to my Jeep. Sergeant Strutt said, did you do PMCS on that Jeep, preventive maintenance check? I said, no. He said, well, get your behind back out there and get maintenance done on that Jeep. So he's only remembering the piece that when I was in command, but I remember the piece when I was a private underneath him, you know, learning all the things that I need to learn in order to be a better soldier. Milton Busby running for sheriff. Hope to get your votes out there, and God bless y'all.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So, Mr. Bob, so when Mr. Busby, so let's go back. You know Mr. Busby prior to him entering the military, correct?
Correct, yes. My wife's brother also played football for Vanguard High School. Mm-hmm. And that's where I first saw Mr. Busby. And he was a little guy, but boy, he could really travel. I mean, he could catch that ball and he's gone. So, and then we go to the military, and he's a person that's a leader. And when we was in Iraq, we had meetings every evening. We had the platoon leaders, platoon sergeants, section heads, and we would all get together. And if we had something that we needed to discuss that was very important, that's what we did. So it's communications is a big part of everything. And we were just very blessed to have Milton Busby as a commander when we was overseas. And I thank God for him.
That's right. You know, and that's a testament, you know, to where at one point you know, you was over him, and then somehow or another he wound up over you. You know, and for me knowing Mr. Busby, it seems like no matter where he go, somehow or another the short guy rise to the top, the cream of the crop.
That's for sure, he does.
You know, and what characteristics and traits that you see within him that you think is the key? What is it that causes him to rise to the top? What makes him different?
Because he's willing to learn, he's willing to listen, and that's what makes a big difference, you know. And he's just a good person. He cares, and he wants to listen and make a difference.
So if I was to say, I'm going to give you a few words, and you give me one word definition. Busby.
Kind.
Sheriff.
Strong.
Marion County.
Sheriff.
Vote.
Busby.
August the 20th.
Busby.
Tuesday morning, tomorrow.
Busby.
Amen to that. Busby all the way. Busby all the way. You know, we have some other guests here. You know, last night we was live and we had a caller, a very emotional call, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the family that we have here today, Al and April Counterman. They are here today to share their story live. You know, throughout this week, we have experienced things. We have heard testimonies. You know, just like I say, if everybody's saying the same thing, they ain't lying. And you know, our hearts went out to this family. You know what I mean? My heart, I thought about it as I laid down and I slept. I woke up, me and my wife had a discussion about it. You know, and as I was thinking, you know, Mr. L reached out to me. You know, and I'm so honored to have them here today to once again, you know, another family that's broken, has not received justice, have not received due diligence here in Marion County. This is another family that wasn't born here. They moved here, and this is their experience. We have more to offer them. You know, we are a great community. We're looking for change. We are striving for change. And this starts tomorrow morning, ladies and gentlemen, by you casting your vote for Milton Busby Jr. Now, we're going to turn this over to Mr. Al and Mrs. April Counterman.
Okay, well, let me just say thank you all for being here and letting us get through this experience we've been through. I don't know how to say this any other way than we are very proactive with the police, EMS, throughout our family, friends, military, throughout our family, friends. I believe that structure is everything. If you don't have structure, nobody follows the line, everything goes sideways. Most of you know me, know why I'm saying it the way I am, because what I really want to say I shouldn't put on the air, because language-wise, I'm a truck driver, biker, I'm sorry, I can't help myself. But I do have a very good rapport with the law and everywhere we came from. I'm involved with multiple social clubs, Legion, Moose Lodge, such and such, offices throughout state levels in both. And I've never seen leadership like we've seen here. We've never seen anybody ever be handed work, handed the job to them, and just look at somebody and go, I want to tell you, I'm backing my guys. We don't need to look at it. But my wife has done most of the research. I'm more or less just the spearhead to make sure our house keeps moving while she does all the hard work. So, if I may, I'm going to, hopefully she'll be able to get through this and let her pretty much explain everything.
But let me ask you a question, Mr. L. You know, as the man of the house, you know, we had talks, and you say you're an open book, you know, and you say you not only lost your daughter.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's
you know,
true.
Elaborate. You finish that statement for me, sir.
Well, it's sad, but it's honestly true. I haven't only lost my daughter. We've lost our family. And more so than anything, we've lost my wife, and my other 2 children have lost a big part of their mother. She is working so tirelessly trying to get this solved, trying to make this right. And she's so inside herself that it took away her. She's always been the give people a chance, do right for people, do this, do that. She's been in all the clubs that I've been in. She's got the highest degrees that she can get in them clubs also. Charities, like you would not believe. Again, anybody knows us knows what we're about. She's dropped everything. She's a shell of herself, and I'm sorry, but it's true. I don't know how else to say it. And it's very difficult because the rest of us understand where she's going, what she's going through. I can't go down that road because somebody has to be there to go out every day, do the job, make sure the bills and everything get done. My kids have been pitching in phenomenal, my other 2, trying to help, which she did. She was our patriarch. She was everything. And she's a shell of what she was, and I'm sorry to say that. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not.
I have to do what Marion County can't or refuses to do.
There is that.
We've had to do working with another state with doing our own investigation and gathering it. I've had to rely on my best friend to answer my phone calls every day when I break down. She has helped me make phone calls to doctors, to lawyers, to private investigators, something Marion County has not done. She's the one that answers the phone or makes phone calls with me to Connecticut, to Pennsylvania, to Virginia, because a doctor here doesn't answer the phone call. The police department, the sheriff's department doesn't answer. Their superiors, their congressmen, commissioners, the mayor, sheriff's department, FDLE.
The mayor tried, excuse me.
He did try, but there was nothing he could do, and I was only referred back to the sheriff's department.
And you know, I want to make a point here for the citizens. Okay, we have a caller here. Yes, this TLC Talk Love Communication. You want to chime in on the topic tonight? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. You want to chime in tonight, ma'am?
Yes, this is Amanda Gates, and I would love to ask some questions and give my input. April is my hero. She's been through a lot of the same things that I did with Simon, different scenarios, but still with the same agency. Something is horrifyingly wrong there at Marion County Sheriff's Office. What exactly is going on, I do not claim to know, just like April doesn't, but we know something is.
That is correct, ma'am. As a community, we agree with that. And you know, I tell you what, Marion County, citizens of Marion County, we need time for us to put our foot down. You know what I mean? In order to get something different, you got to be willing to do something you've never done. And
Stand up for the common folks.
That's right. We have to stand up. This story is repetitively happening over and over and over again. Different family, same scenario.
At the greatest
Can no
cost
one
of our
ask
children.
Sheriff Woods, can no one put him on the spot and say, what is going on? Why are these families having together like this? But he will not. Look at Buzz. He's right there. And Sheriff Woods runs and hides.
It took me 18 months to get an appointment with him. I sat in that office every day. I visited. I called. I emailed. And I continued to go there. I wasn't going away till he finally gave me an appointment.
He has still yet to give me an appointment. But I'm like you, April. You're my hero, by the way. You give me courage. You help me fight. And I'm like, I will not stop. I'm just like you. Me and April, we contacted one another. And it's a shame that mothers have to band together to come up against this. We are victims here.
There's at least
They
15.
were our children. They were our children.
There's
And
at least
Sheriff Woods
15
just
other families.
turns a blind eye. Why doesn't he come forward and speak up for himself?
And that's a great question.
We all are calling him out. And why doesn't he? I mean, if it were me, I think I would stand up and give a reason as to why.
May I just interject one thing?
Please.
Yes, sir.
Please.
My wife, I know as much as she appreciates your statement, she's not looking to be anybody's hero. She's just trying to get to the bottom. Second off, why? Because he said it at the conference yesterday, the debate or whatever you want to call it. There's nothing wrong. He's not going to change anything. That's why. Because he thinks everything's right. He doesn't care.
The bad thing
Period.
about it, it's my understanding that in Florida, law enforcement are told to enforce the law by any means necessary. Now, Sheriff Woods feels like just because he is allowed and has the authority to treat people any way he wants to, that doesn't mean that you should.
Prosecution.
Now that's basically what giving sheriff an elected official there in Florida, they answer to no one but God and the governor, and we all know how that goes. I think one hand just sort of washes the other.
The governor doesn't answer the letters. Did that too.
Absolutely not. He forwards it straight on to Billy Woods.
That's one of the reasons why I want to establish the advisory community committee to make sure that we have that interlock where we're working together and talking
Communication.
and making sure that we don't have something like this happen again.
The junior governor did answer and responded, but only pushed us back to the local.
What's your question to me? I'm sorry, April.
I was just saying that the junior governor did respond to my emails with the list of the families' names, but they only referred me back to the local.
Yes, absolutely, because they're all. It's all one big wash, sort of. They're all in together, and no one is to hold the sheriff accountable. And the deputies underneath him, we know who holds them accountable.
I mean, this is farther than just my missing daughter found and recovered. There are families that don't even have their children that are still searching.
Where they're at. Yes, ma'am.
There are pages full. If you go to Facebook and just put in Florida missing, you can be there for a month searching through pages. Why are none of them listed?
I managed to receive, I think I told you the other night, the overdose death cases there in Marion County from 2019 all through 2023.
My daughter is listed.
Absolutely alarming. Yes,
On there as a
ma'am,
drug
she
overdose.
is on there. And she is not an overdose case.
I have her
And
medical
yes,
records.
Yes, ma'am, Codie Novack is on there. Yes, ma'am.
Why was my records given to her? She reached out to me. I didn't know her before that. So tell me why those records were handed
I have that
out.
information. I think I would be upset if someone had Simon's information like that. But I certainly do.
So there you're
There is
listing
something
the
wrong
state.
there.
The state records is, well, is she an accident, as listed here, or is she an overdose, as listed there?
They don't have
Well,
to look into an
Simon
overdose.
is just a simple assault. His case is just a simple offense.
You saw my daughter.
son.
You saw my daughter's images from her autopsy. They're not pretty, but that wasn't even mentioned or charged by anybody at the scene.
I would like to say that, off air, Miss April have showed us some pictures that was
Gruesome at best.
very gruesome pictures of her daughter,
God bless you.
and like she said, it was 3 days her daughter had been,
Yes, that she
Before
lay
they
there
even-
without someone
before they
looking
even
for
knew.
that child. Yes,
and
that's true. Yes.
even though her car was outside and her license was on her, still
And her
yet
parents begging, and with her parents begging.
the sheriff's
Yes, sir.
department failed to reach out to the family She received a phone call from someone
No.
else.
I didn't receive a phone call from anybody. We located.
She searched
searched.
day and night until she found him herself, just like
We found the boyfriend and asked where my daughter was at.
We had to search ourselves.
Well,
And he said she's at the ME's office. We assumed we met like an urgent care. And he said, no, she on an autopsy table. Just that cold.
and the pictures that
Unacceptable.
is unbelievable. The pictures that's, they're unbearable. We can't show that today on this podcast.
I didn't show them to public to anybody except for a doctor normally. And the doctors outside the state of Florida were dumbfounded. They're like, how is that rolled an accident? They believe that it was...
No one can believe it. It's absurd what this sheriff gets away with. It is absolutely absurd what this agency does and gets away with it.
William, I wasn't part of an investigation, but I did look at the pictures, and from what I could tell, they were deserving of someone to go in and do a further investigation.
The medical examiner said the investigation was up to the sheriff's department. In a letter, sheriff's department said because the medical examiner ruled it an accident and her blood, the ethanol level in her body, she was drunk and it doesn't warrant an investigation. I have the letter here, certified letter, that there would be no investigation until the medical examiner changed her ruling. I've been fighting with them for 18 months.
And the ethanol level is at such a point.
In the autopsy, the ethanol level, as disclosure states, could be a decompensation from the body or alcohol.
Well, Mr. Busby, do you have any knowledge of legal grounds as far as the ME say that it's an accident? Can the sheriff still proceed with investigation? Who decides that?
I don't know exactly what the policy and the relationship is between the sheriff's office and the medical examiner. What I can tell you, I did ask for a copy of the sheriff's office policy, and with that I got a bill for $4,400. And so I decided on not to take the policy at that particular point. So I don't have the insight exactly what the relationship is between the medical examiner and the the public and the sheriff's office.
I did go that far, and I asked for policy and procedures, and I got those lists. And I also got a letter from Tallahassee that the investigation is up to the sheriff's department.
It's a circle.
It is a circle.
Why isn't Billy Woods put on spot? Where is Billy Woods to answer these questions?
I've asked them all to review the body cameras, the incident reports, and I was told inside of 10 minutes that they did it, and that they were standing behind their detective. Even after I showed you the images, and these are just in a week, every person I spoke to, they said they viewed it. So if you viewed the body cameras, the edited police reports, and them photos and still agree that it was an accident?
Mr. Busby, moving forward, how could you, if and when you're elected sheriff, is it possible to go back and look at these cases? Does Marion County have a cold case department?
Going back to look at these cases is one of the things that I would definitely put on my list that we need to take care in a
Thank you,
hurry.
God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
And it goes back to two issues. It goes back to the investigating, who investigated the case. It goes back to the chain of command and addressing exactly what they're saying, because we got more than one problem. We got a problem with the sheriff department. We got a problem with employees within the sheriff department. And so from that problem set, I need to look real deep and figure out exactly what good employees we got and what employees we need to take a real good look at for its training and or finding them another employment.
So when a detective, the statute of when you become a deputy to a lieutenant, to a sergeant, to a detective, is there a standard procedure for that usually? I mean,
Every agency is going to be different in terms of the promotion process. There's sometimes an educational requirement that you have to take certain classes, certain courses in order to progress. Not knowing exactly, like I said, I couldn't get a copy of the county sheriff's policy. I can't tell you specifically how this organization works. But what I will do, I will put a fundamental set of guidelines establishing exactly what the requirements are so everybody know. You won't have to ask for a policy. All you would have to do is go online to the sheriff's office website, and it's going to tell you exactly what you need to know right then and there. And if that's not going to happen, then you're going to make a phone call and you're going to get an answer from someone. Someone is going to call you back. And if they don't call you back, then eventually you're going to call me, because you're going to have my number before we leave tonight. And then we're going to figure out who I need to bring into my office to figure out exactly why we got these problems. It's about fixing a problem and treat people right. And that's what it's about at the end of the day.
I agree with that 100%. The thing that baffles me within the last 2 days, this woman that's on the phone, I've never spoke to her, my wife has obviously, calls and said that she went to get her son's information and got a list of everything from my daughter and every other case in the county. How does the record department let that happen?
I think
It's not just the sheriff. It's from the beginning to the end. And I'm sorry, I've been led, and I'm telling you, it always leads on the top guy. He don't have a say till the end if there's a tie, but if something goes wrong, it's on him.
That's correct.
And he's not taking responsibility. And again, I'm not a political person normally, but God willing, tomorrow these people out here will say, we got to get rid of this guy. There's no more cowboys. It's time to get a real officer, multiple time officer at that. Military
Yes, sir.
back, police back. Make him sheriff. Make not only himself, which he's asked to be held responsible and accountable for his own actions, but be accountable for his men, because that's what a leader does.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Miss Amanda, we have another caller, ma'am. You can call back. We're gonna see what the other caller is, ma'am.
Good luck to everyone. April, I'm right here. I'm behind you, honey.
I'm behind you.
Yes, this is Talk Love Communication. You want to chime in on the topic tonight?
Yes, sir. I was your last call last night, so I'm calling back again. Everybody wants to know where Billy Woods is. I'll tell you where Billy Woods is. When Billy Woods got in office, he hired every stooge he could. Paul Bloom, all them guys to insulate himself from everything. Billy Woods, Paul Bloom, all those guys, they went to OCA together.
That's right.
Ocala Christian Academy. They all went to school together. And he hired every one of them. And I guarantee you, if that lady who lost her, was it your daughter you said? I'm sorry, I came in the
Yes.
middle of it.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I guarantee you if the last name was Townley or Bloom or something like that, they would be like Sherman's March to the Sea to find the person that did it.
That's right, sir.
There'd be no holds barred on doing it.
And that's exactly what I've been trying to say since we've been here for 2 years, and we see the Good Boys Club.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think, as silly as this sounds, that nobody thinks that the people moving in here are smart, or they just think they're just going to overpower them, because there's so many of us that have moved from different areas that are now in this county.
Oh, yeah.
That come from places that are run correctly, that aren't good old boy clubs, and
Yeah.
we expect better.
Exactly, but they've been getting away with it for so long. like I was explaining last night, for 5 years I tried to get Billy Woods to catch somebody driving without a license, and for 5 years he refused. I sent him certified letters. I even set up a website, www.woodsdoesnotcare.com, with all this person's information in it, everything like that. He didn't care. For 5 years, that person drove on the same streets as my family without a license. If she would have gotten in a wreck with somebody, the insurance wouldn't have covered anything, because she doesn't have a license. She shouldn't be driving. God forbid she killed somebody. Then what would have happened?
Mr. Busby has spoken briefly about the importance of community. The officers can't do it on their own. So a man like yourself, sir, that's out in the community, that's concerned with it, when you reach out, Mr. Busby wants to mend the community. And when you reach out to the sheriff department to help him do the things that's supposed to be done in our community, you're being rejected. Mr. Busby, would you like to speak on that and how you would counteract that, sir?
It comes down to proactive enforcement. That's pretty simple. If you have a situation like that and he's already identified the individual, the sheriff's office or the law enforcement officer can go and run that person's driver's license. Once they get that the driver's license is suspended and you already got a complaint, all they have to do is watch the house. Watch for the individual getting in the car. You already know what they look like. You already got a photo of them. And just make a traffic stop when they're driving.
You know what I got told? I got told by one of the deputies in my area, right? We just can't sit around and wait for people to break the law. That's a direct quote from a deputy of Marion County Sheriff's Office.
Mr. Busby, when and if you are elected as the sheriff, and a citizen call you and make that statement to you, and can give you the name of that deputy, how would you move forward that situation, sir?
We won't steer down that path. We need to get in a proactive, and we have to make a mental shift and a policy shift in terms of making sure we take care of the community and the public. We should not be giving excuses, but we should be giving results. And, if that deputy needed help, if I had a badge and gun, heck, I'll go and watch the house. It's not that much effort. I'm quite sure they could have found someone from that department that could have went out and did that. Someone working somewhere. So that's my answer.
Thank you, Mr. Bubba. We have another caller here today, ma'am. Excuse me, would you like to comment on the situation today, ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Bubba. We have another caller here today. Okay, you can go ahead.
Yes. April and Albie, we just want to say we love you. And the kids love you. We just want to say we love you.
Why, thank you.
And thank you for being strong and teaching me what you do. Thank you for being strong and teaching me what you do.
She's a little emotional now, but she thank you, ma'am, and we thank you for caring. And this is what it's all about: community, people coming together as one, people uniting as one, and that's what the advisory committee board would do. Would give us understanding. Sometimes people think the word ignorant is a bad word. It's just lack of knowledge. It's nothing like an understanding. If both people understand, there's no dispute. Then it sets what's right and wrong. That's what we strive to do, get understanding. We're going to come together as much as the past administration, the current administration has tried to divide us as a community. Right now, tonight, we are seeing community come together as one. And this is something that we aim to continue to drive forward with, ma'am. And we thank you for the compassion in your heart for Miss April and her family. And we're going to continue to wrap our arms around her and her family and this community as a whole.
Do you hear the babies in the background?
Mm-hmm.
Them babies need a better future. They need a better community and better leaders. We have to stand stronger for them.
That's correct. We can't wait until, when this family moved down here, they never thought that they would be sitting at this table having this conversation. The people that's listening, the people that has the right to vote and make the difference, you would never think that it would be your child, your niece, your nephew, or even yourself, your husband, your wife. You would never think that it would be you. That's the kind of stuff that they saw on Unsolved Mysteries. These are the kind of things that they watched on television. They never thought that it would come to their front door. And we have to make a difference while we can make a difference. Do not wake up August the 21st, Wednesday, August the 21st, and be in the same situation you're in now. You have to make a change. And Milton Busby Jr. is the man for the job.
Agreed. My thing is, does anybody here know the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different reaction. If you keep voting this guy in, nothing's going to change. You're insane to think things will change if you keep bringing him back.
Bucky's got my vote.
And that's what it takes, and sometimes we sit back as a people, as a community, and we have a tendency to say, well, you go ahead, I ain't got to, my vote ain't going to make no difference. But if everyone thought the same thing, no one would vote. But I can tell you what, see, you the people have an opponent. Even though we are one community, but you have all these different little small communities, these gated communities, you better believe they gonna vote. They already don't cast their vote. They voted through the mail. See, you got to get down to the polls. But what are you gonna do? You're gonna say, well, I gotta pick the son up for football practice, or I'm tired right now, or you can't do it the next day. You only got one shot. You got one day. Early election, early voting is over with. You got one day to make a difference. Don't make an excuse. Take out them clothes, iron them the night before, so when you wake up, you can get dressed.
Just go naked.
If I was able to
Put a
vote,
towel on.
I would.
That's right. That's right. And what you can do, ma'am, is you can continue to share your story, and you continue to encourage those around you who are able to vote to get down to the polls. You can learn, the precincts that you have to go to depending on your neighborhood, your address, and you can carpool. You can get people who don't have a way. It may be an elderly young lady or elderly man that lives around the block. Pick them up, take them down there, let's vote. Let's get it done. That's the part you can play, man. You know what I mean? Sometimes in life, I can't vote. I myself can't vote, but I can run for president, but that's a whole nother thing. But we need to do what we can do and continue to be a community, ma'am. And we thank you for your call, ma'am. And just as much as you love April, we sitting at this table, we love you also, ma'am.
Well, we love you guys, and Debbie, we love you too. We didn't forget about you.
Okay.
Looking at what we have tonight, I go back to my thoughts that we've probably talked before. I've always been able to set my path, but my destination is set by God. That I don't have no control over that. And so whatever destination that comes out this campaign and this election, please continue your path. Please, because this may be my destination tonight. I don't know that.
None of us do.
And so from that, take that for what it's worth. This is valuable. This is very valuable, and the word needs to get out. And so we make folks aware, because a lot of people are not aware of what's going on here in this county.
Cody has a story. Simon has a story. Jessica has a story. Derek has a story. Christine has a story. They all have a story. They're all somebody's people. somebody who didn't do an investigation or cared enough. They all have a story, and there's many more. Many more.
You know, ma'am, as painful as it is, ma'am, let's go back to the night of the incident and what took place and how did you find out and the job that was done, ma'am.
It was a morning, actually. It was a Thursday morning. My daughter didn't respond to a text message, a work appointment, an eye appointment. It was just a strange feeling. She got a friend's request. We're a type of family. We're in your business. I can tell you when each one of my kids go to the bathroom, the whole 9 yards. And we have an app on our phone that I can tell you where each one of my family members are, including my parents. Life 360, it's a GPS monitoring app.
Got it.
So at any point I can tell you where every one of my family members are. There's a safety. Due diligence, know where your peoples are, make sure they're safe. If they don't check in, my daughter knew that if I didn't hear from her within a 12-hour period, and you didn't answer and respond, the authorities would have called. Just as such, we did call the authorities. Thought she was in danger, she didn't respond. We continued looking for her. That afternoon, we located the on and off boyfriend finally by phone. Said he was at the medical examiner's. We thought she was sick. He said no, that she was on an autopsy table. Very cold. I screamed, I hollered. I then phoned by an image that he sent me when he said, all I have is a cord when they took her body. Not even by name. I called the medical examiner's office to confirm. Hopefully that was a lie. They'd already performed an autopsy. No notification. They did it 10:30 in the morning. This is later in the afternoon. On January 5th.
It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
I just remember
exactly
screaming.
Where I was in Tennessee on the side of 75. Just got pulled over for a DOT, and I got that phone call at the same exact time. I'll never forget that minute. Never.
We had our phones going with our emergency contact list to make sure that Codie didn't check in with other family members. No one had heard from her. Started checking phone messages, and I could see text messages where they had an altercation, her and the boyfriend. At the time, we just assumed it was just one person, him and her. But after I went to collect her belongings a week later, I'm not so sure. Well, nothing at the time. What the officer says, when I reached the medical examiner's office, she then gives me a number to a detective. Alarmed by domestic violence, I said to him, something's not adding up, and he said, oh no, we thinking suicide. There ain't no way my daughter's going to commit suicide. And then it was always drug use over drugs. No, my daughter doesn't do drugs. I tried to explain about the domestic violence. I literally I sent him probably a 6-page letter with evidence from her electronics. I asked him to meet with me. He said, no, there's no reason to. We could do it over the phone. It was until January 13th, after viewing my daughter at the funeral home and showing you those images that I saw, that I demanded an appointment with the detective. He then said she was just drunk. Still didn't make sense. Not at 10:30 in the morning. Again, didn't know all the details. So he had me believing that, she was possibly this or that. It just didn't sit right. And then I started ordering all the records because they closed her case. Cut and dry. The witnesses said this, that she's an avid drug user. She drank all the time. She was known for heroin, ecstasy. People that don't even know my daughter said this, and that's what you took as an excuse. Well, you said she was drinking and falling down. I said, no, my daughter's 21. She can drink. Doesn't mean that she goes falling down drunk like that. Didn't make any sense. So you took 5 witness statements, 4 of which didn't even know her. two that she worked with supposedly, it said she was known for heroin and ecstasy and all these other drugs. Talk screen's clean. But they closed her case inside of 30 days as an accident.
You know, go ahead, sir. I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
Not only was their tox screen clean, if they said, oh, well, she used to do it. Well, 2 weeks prior to that, 3 weeks prior to that, she applied for a job at the hospital down here in Ocala. She had to go through a full drug screen, psych screen, the whole 9 yards. She passed all that. She was due to go to her last interview the day after this happened. There ain't no way in hell, and don't get me wrong, not to say my daughter never smoked pot or anything like that, because, I mean, I don't know many of us that never
My daughter
have.
smoked pot a couple months before
But,
in high school,
I mean,
whatever.
not like a daily thing or barely ever at all. She's tried it. She wasn't a drug kid. She would drink normally with us, and it was sociable. Wasn't, you know. But to say she was this and that, and then say, well, they weren't fighting, but there's witnesses of fighting. It's in her phone about these fights and how she was done being abused and she was going home. All her stuff was found packed in the room, and the officers couldn't put two and two together. They couldn't take any bottles. They couldn't take anything that they found that quote unquote she had and test anything. My wife picked that stuff up a week later.
I bagged it, brought it into them. I asked them to test it. They couldn't test it. Too many alcohols to test.
Not only that, after a week, a chain of command, you don't know who's touched what. You can't do that. That's their job, to walk in there
It still
and
sits.
control the environment. When we went to a scene, whenever, I mean, I'm not an officer, don't get me wrong, but if we ever went to an ambulatory scene or anything like that, and anything looked wrong, we stopped, closed that scene, and would not let anybody in there or touch anything until the detectives came in, the forensic guys came in, and then we released the scene to them. They didn't even do that. They had two officers sit outside. Meanwhile, 4 people were running around the house
Playing hide and go
playing
seek.
hide and go seek, quote unquote, working on a deck at 2:30 in the morning when the cops walk around looking around the house. And they go, oh, yeah, they're just back there working on the deck. In the dark at 2:30 in the morning, these characters are working on the deck. There's drugs throughout the house. Now, mind you, my daughter rented one room. That was it. With this person.
No names.
This person, because I can't really tell you what I think. And again, she's getting ready to leave, and then all this, and then when they get there, they pronounce her at 12:04 or 12:17, and she's already got rigor mortis set in. She's not just died. She didn't just die. They just called and said, oh, we just found she's not breathing. She may have fell and bumped her head. She may, she drank or this or that. And then when the officers do the questioning to the people in the home, they turn around.
They did it outside of the house in the car.
Do that, which is fine. They do, okay, excuse me, out in their cars, however it may be, at the scene, per se. They give them one story. They ask them something else, and then they get a different story. And then the officer looks at my wife says, well, why can't you charge them for falsifying their statements? Oh, well, if they were just drunks, we just take it as it is what it is, and we can't really count on that. Well, is it really against the law now? I'm pretty sure it is, and I know we looked it up, so I know the answer, because usually I don't ask answers like my mom used to say. I don't ask an answer unless I know the question unless I know the answer. It is against the law to give a false report to an officer?
It's against the law, but I don't know the situation that they took it. Probably when they took them outside, they had a recording device, a tape or video type technology.
Right.
From that point, the deputy would have to probably talk to their supervisor and the state attorney's office to see exactly.
State attorney's office wasn't even aware of the case. And they couldn't even file a case until the sheriff's office brought it to them.
Okay. Okay.
This is,
Because I tried to file for charges myself, criminal charges. The only thing I was able to file for were the damages to my vehicle and to the personal property that he destroyed during the altercation.
So at what point did the investigation start? Is there some kind of track record to show when the investigation started?
can you tell me? Because we haven't seen it.
According to the body cam, there wasn't a crime. They took the crime tape down. And they had to, as they told me, they couldn't investigate till the autopsy came back, the toxicology.
If there's a deceased person, how could you not investigate it? How could you not? I mean, it's uncomfortable. That doesn't.
They
make
made
any
a couple
sense.
phone calls. They took some crime scene photos. Then they said, oh, the deputies on scene misunderstood the scene, took the crime scene tape down, removed my daughter's body, put it in a van, took her phone, her ID, and they left.
So if they took her phone and her ID,
That was it.
the car, a vehicle was also there, correct?
It was.
Correct, which is my name
They
and her
searched
name
it.
both.
So that mean that the registration had your name on
My
it, sir,
name.
Correct.
which is live right down the
Correct.
Yes.
the road,
Correct.
and she's been deceased for 3 days and no one contacted.
We don't know when. Sometime between January 3rd and January 5th. When we asked how long and when, the medical examiner said, we can't tell you. That's TV show answers.
Well, on what day did you find out, ma'am?
January 5th in the afternoon.
So even for them to remove the body, no one contacted
Nobody
the family.
called me.
To this date.
I found out January 5th when I called them, hoping that the on-off boyfriend was lying that she was deceased.
And her phone pinged at the sheriff's office,
Oh,
and they
okay.
said they didn't have it.
And when I checked her GPS while she was missing, because her phone pinged there, they said, we don't have her. I said, well, her phone is pinging there. No, we don't have her. Okay. Her phone is pinging there. You have no reports. Her name was Ran. You have no reports, no domestic violence, no arrest records for her or the on and off boyfriend. None. They ran it 3 times.
And you have her ID. Her ID was on her.
Her ID was on her.
And they had her phone.
They had her body. They had her phone. They ran her name previously. They ran my car previously. When I reported her missing, they'd already had her, did an autopsy. I still had no notification. Why was her name not in the system?
Yes.
When I finally reached the detective, I didn't even remember telling him she was reported missing. Because I didn't talk to the same detective. I got the detective's number from the medical examiner's office. He's telling me it was a suicide and an overdose. I wholeheartedly told him no, but now he's telling me as a parent I didn't know my child.
And then it was ruled as ethanol, which again, being rigor mortis set in, ethanol levels are not accurate.
Correct.
They would be so spiked, it's not funny. So they didn't look any further than that. And then we find out 2 days ago, which really upsets me, trying to curb my language here, that she's put down as an OD. Child that has never done any hard drug to my awareness, and we're a very open family.
Hey,
I've never been an angel. I'll be the first to admit it. Anybody that knows me out there in La La Land knows I've never been an angel. I don't claim to be one, but I'm a good person when it comes down to it. And I've done all that, playing with this, playing with that. And I've told my children what I went through and what I did and what I should have done and the actions and reactions of whatever drugs and I did. And as far as I'm concerned, it kept them away from it because they knew and they saw the things I've done in the past that I'm not proud of while I was in that situation. My children are not drugs. They don't do that. They will drink. They're not, never.
Everything we've told you so far has been based solely on a file of papers, photographs, written papers, Factual, not opinion. As I've been told by the sheriff's office and the medical examiners, theirs is based on their opinion. If she is on an overdose drug list, I'd like to know what the drug is. Because if that's the case, that may be a little make sense of what was in that drug and was she given something at that scene. Would explain something of why my daughter is deceased, beaten and deceased.
And which would still warrant an investigation. I mean, it seems to be...
Florida's drug rules here are if you're caught giving something to somebody or overdosed, it's a stiff sentence.
Yeah, you're held accountable. Right?
So you're arrested here on many different charges. I'm not picking one at this point. But yeah, you go to Marion County and you're arrested, you're released on bond pretty fast. If it stays with lack of evidence, there are people, like, I know the offenders at my list, their arrest records are extremely long. Coming here and I see Woods on that Wanted Wednesday or whatever it is, and he's looking at different news articles and he goes like this with these sheets of paper, this person shouldn't have been out. I'm looking at 5 people at my daughter's records here. My daughter had nothing, but you took it a step further. You ran my daughter's records, which is none, but you don't run any of these other offenders that their records are a mile long. I mean, some of them have more than 12, 15 records, domestic violence, drug charges, attacks of, I don't know if it was attempted murder or whatever it was. Drug, you know what I mean? So you're telling me that you know the house is what it is. You know the activity that goes on there, but that's not suspicious either.
And yet you can't shut down a house if it's that much. And it was stated to my wife and my children when they went and got my daughter's car.
I had him look cold at me.
People, they told you. I don't want to hear say you
I literally went to
them.
get my daughter's things, and he looked at me and he said, "You're going to tell me why it's going to take so long for her autopsy?" I said, "You want to tell me? It's my first time dealing with this. Many people have died here. I'm not going to back down from you, from him, the sheriff. My daughter's story is just her story, and it happened. Just like there's other stories that happen. I don't care what drug you're on, what you've done to somebody, their story is important. And if you're doing wrong, then it needs to be stopped."
You know, I notice a common ground here, you know, with the testimony of, you know, yourself and Miss Yates and Miss Tillers, is that it appears as though once the sheriff department, in their mind, identifies the situation with anything to do with drugs or alcohol, they just act as though that person deceased is not warranted of a thorough investigation. And that's not right. You know, because every life count. If an officer so much as get a scratch on him,
Oh, they're calling it the whole nation.
it'll look like the whole nation coming. You know what I mean? And rightfully so. You know, but that's, you know, no life is better than the other. No life is more important than the other. Mr. Billy Woods stated himself in the debate, and to my audience, I was correct last night. It's abate, not debate. But he stated that if one person is robbed their car and one person have $100 stolen from him, he says that it's the same. It depends on what that meant to that individual. You understand what I'm saying? And he is correct in that. He made a correct statement. But what we say and what we do sometimes is two different things. And with the compassion that you appear to have for someone who has lost $100 compared to a family who has lost a child, it's not adding up. You know, where's the compassion? And even, you know, and the compassion starts at talk. Like your husband stated, there are many positions he has been in, and I'm a firm believer, man. You know, when it comes to leadership, you know, I'm just old football guy. You know, and
Where most of us started.
And you take Nick Saban, for example. Everyone say he's strict, he's disciplined, but you can't argue with the results. The results is national championships. So therefore, his coaches that leave him compete for national championship. His greatest competitor was his right-hand man, who took the things that he learned from Nick Saban and went to another program and beat his mentor for a championship. But that being said, every coach, every player, every trainer, and it almost went down to the parents that's under Nick Saban had to abide by his rules. And he's held accountable. If one of his coaches pays a kid some money, he was held accountable. He was punished. That's his program. And in the sheriff department, it goes the same way. You know, if the detective, if you know, you can't be out on top of every man. And we understand this is a big county. And this is a very difficult job, I would imagine. You know, you can't, you know, everything that goes wrong, it goes back to the top man, and that's the sheriff. But what you have to do is hold the ones accountable. Let me tell you something about right and wrong. Once you got multiple kids, correct?
3.
Okay, 3 kids. So let's say it's
Blame Debbie, we always do.
okay, Debbie. We're gonna blame Debbie over there. Let's say Debbie does something wrong and she get her hand popped. Now the other
Attention
sister,
who's coming in.
the other sister who saw Debbie get her hand popped for doing that knows not to do that.
Yeah, should.
You know, I'm gonna tell you a quick story. One of my daughters, her mother was braiding hair. We had took the light off the lamp, and my daughter wanted to touch the light. She maybe 1.5. That light bulb looked nice, shiny to her. I'm saying, no, baby, it's gonna burn you. I'm trying to make her aware of the danger, so she just want to touch the light. So she's sneaking. I just act like I ain't looking, and I let her go over there and touch that light, and it burnt her hand, and she cried. And from that point on, the light could be off now. When she don't want to do right, I get her hand like I'm taking her to that light, and she'll fuss and fight not to let her hand get touched. See, but one thing about Mr. Busman, I'm going to let him contest to this himself. He is a man of accountability. My perception of him, he don't care who you are. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And for those out there voting for Mr. Busby, you vote because you want this community cleaned up. So now if you're at fault, you can expect for him to do the right thing. You know, and I'm going to let him contest to that and how important accountability is to being the sheriff of Marion County, sir.
I'll defer accountability over to Bob. He can tell you about that. But let me talk a little bit about the numbers in the big picture. You have a crime stat report that every sheriff's office in counties, state of Florida, required to send a set of numbers up. One of the things that I think I've talked to William about, that I went to public school. In public school, 1 + 1 = 2. But however, when I looked at the Marion County stat reports, 1 + 1 = 1. I couldn't figure that out. Now I'm sitting here just formalizing and thinking about what you all are saying and the tendencies going back to crime stats. And when you get the crime stats, for you to take those crimes that's taking place and then show them as accidents, those are not stats that goes against what you already get here in Marion County. Exactly. Now, one other thing, and you were in the meeting, the sheriff mentioned that the Marion County, since he's taken over, there's been an 11% reduction in crime in Marion County. But based on what you all are talking about, I can see that being the case, because people are not recording crime.
Correct.
Like it should be recorded.
You can do the same thing with the medical examiner's office when they put the medical out. A couple months ago, they put out Marion County, and it was on my page. Marion County has the highest rate of accidental deaths.
Imagine that. Can you? I wonder why.
Wow, that's
When this happens to you,
Easier that way.
your eyes get open to a whole different level,
you're absolutely right.
and you realize when you toss a stone into the water, it ripples. But where are those ripples going?
For sure.
And whose hands are all in that pot?
That I'm not saying I'm
Oh,
correct.
I'm not either.
All I'm saying is
asking
that
the questions.
based on what I've seen, my observation, the numbers may be not recorded like they should be.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. That's why I'm
our
questioning.
thought.
That I don't have that proof. I only can see that only certain numbers. I'm
Only a
only
proof of
as
one.
smart as my research.
Understand.
One to me is enough to think about 2, 3, or 12, or 15.
I can give you another case, and they're worried about retaliation. But when a case is actually turned over at the medical examiner's office, and it was changed to be reopened, and it's not still marked as an overdose, there's still no investigation, and currently today it sits closed. She's fighting to have her daughter's case opened. It's not open. On one file, a public file again was handed to a stranger, listed as an overdose, now changed to undetermined, was told it could be opened. The detective refuses to open it.
Mr. Ball, as we sit here, sir, I watch you, I look at your expression. You heard a lot of things today. You have a few years, just a few years over us, So you want to give an input, what you hear today, and you is a man that have seen a lot throughout your years. You have been in the wars. You commanded this man that we are looking forward to changing this community. You've commanded him. And it come to the point where good thing you treated him right, because he wound up being your commander before it was over.
Exactly.
Tell us, let us know the man that we're getting. You know him from different levels. You know him as a kid. He was in Vanguard High School.
Right.
Up all the way up until the man he is today. And that's very humbling of you to be able to watch this kid. You already a grown man, and you recruit this kid to the Army, and now this kid is giving you orders, and that shows both ways. Tell us, who are we getting as sheriff?
You're getting a man that cares, accountability, and it's communications is a big thing. I mean, we always had, like I said, we had meetings every night when we was in Iraq with the platoon leaders, platoon sergeants, section heads, and Captain Buzzy at that time. And if we had any kind of problem, or, can you help me out with this, or can you help me out with that, it was solved right then. So we could continue on to what we needed to do. And that's what needs to be done.
Now let me talk about Bob a little bit, and just let me digress. In wartime, war conditions, Bob maintained a 90+ mission efficiency with our status reports. Okay, and that's in wartime. I remember one time we had blew up a Humvee engine, and Bob came to me and he said, at that point he called me Buzz. That's what he called me, Buzz. We blew up the engine. I was like, wow, man, that's a depot thing. That means you got to send that back to a higher level, 3-4 levels up than where we were at. Bob said, I could handle it. I said, so how are we gonna handle it? He said, I got some tires. You don't need to worry about that. I got to handle it. But the point I made, Bob took that came back with an engine, put that engine in that Humvee, and brought me right back up to that plus 90% efficiency. I learned more from him than I probably learned from, anyone else, because in my case, it came down a lot of times to policies and procedures. Me and him had the unfortunate situation of having people lose their life in my reserve unit when I was a young second lieutenant. And what that taught me was that in the reserves, we had the Army Safety Center, which comes out of Fort Brooke, Alabama, came down to my unit. We were at Camp Shelby, Mississippi. And when they were investigating, they didn't call me Reserve Second Lieutenant Busby. They didn't call me. They said, Lieutenant Busby, your responsibility. And see, at that point, the light bulb went off. That's when I knew that this thing that I was involved with was the real deal from that point on. And I took that attitude from everything that I did in life. We had to, because we got people's lives that are affected by the decisions that we make. And you have to take that serious. And that's truthfully one of the things that I learned early on, working with Bob. Also, the leadership has to take responsibility. And Bob probably remember one of the first time first long range reconnaissance that was done in Iraq was done by me. I think I took my 50 cal, I loaded it up on a Humvee. Bob said, where you going? I said, we're gonna go out here on long range recon. And it was me and one or two of his people that were, driving in a gunner. And from that point on, I never had a problem with sending patrols out on combat operations, because I was the first one to do it. And so taking those lessons is exactly why I am the way I am. And it really ticked me off. And I want to say something else, that you all are going through something like this for your loved one and all these other lovely people that came in here. But I stress again, don't let it end with my campaign. Just keep pressing on. And I got long-winded, and I apologize, but I wanted to make sure I got that.
Well, let me put it this way. In 1990, I enlisted to join the Army. I went to MEPS. Everything went bad. They sent me home. Half my guys that I was supposed to go over with didn't come back. I appreciate everything you guys have done.
Thank you.
I thank you myself, my family, my sister, my brother-in-law. We have a bunch of retired. My stepfather, my nephew is now a sergeant in the Army. I have another nephew. I mean, we got family, like I said, everywhere, entwined between law enforcement and military. You guys' jobs on either side of that, if nobody's ever seen it, could not imagine what you've been through or what you have to go through sometime to get the job done. As a sheriff, I understand it's not easy. You can't keep your eye on everybody, but you need to know how to delegate. You need to know how to look over your core group, however you want to look at it, and say, this isn't working here. This guy's better at this. Let's get this guy to work with this guy to bring him along so they're both acceptable for what they need to do. We have not seen any of that. We've seen nothing but drop the ball, and then go, oh, well, we're going to cover his ass. Oh, excuse me, sorry. I didn't mean, I meant that, but I'm sorry, that slipped.
It's okay.
We're just going to cover each other and say,
It wasn't even that.
it's not
It
the case.
was,
And be disrespectful to the people who you serve, who
Yes, sir.
actually pay for you to be there.
Yes, sir.
Again, we've been here 2 years. I'm not saying, I'm the biggest taxpayer, because I'm a hardworking guy as far as I'm concerned. I work a lot. I do whatever I have to do to support my family. I'm not one of these guys that have multi-million-dollar ranches. I have a little house on the southeast side. Nothing special. But I'm still paying for you to be there.
For sure.
Everything in a little off course, everything I've seen so far with OPD is phenomenal. Their officers, I've talked to a few of them. We've had a couple run-ins here and there. Not run-ins, but talked to them, whatnot. They've always been very professional, very right, and they were willing to help whenever they could, if they could. She had to make a call because of a situation at our home one night when I was on the road. They showed up, did what they had to do. They took the report. Everything was good. The sheriff's department, I don't see that.
we don't live in that territory.
Right.
But I also tell my family, do not go to that territory.
She's got my children to the point where they can't leave
No.
a certain area because they're scared to. And no offense, don't take this the wrong way, because I'm a big boy and I can handle myself if I need to, but I'm not scared of anything except for her when she gets really, really mad. But my children shouldn't have to live in fear.
As I told you, we built a community for those that have lost, missing, or murdered. You read the pages. You see what is not being produced in the news. Many of us sent these news articles to a news channel. They didn't run with them. This story was sent to them. Every local channel. Did you see it aired? Have you seen any of these stories aired?
They go to the sheriff and get shut down every time.
I was
Anything
told.
with the sheriff's department you see in this area, I'm sorry, is fluff.
I was told they can only report what was given by the sheriff's department.
Fluff. The sheriff wants you to see something, wants to make himself look good. Here, the news channels can do it. News channel comes in on her request. Now, it's either we have an active investigation or there's no fact to that, so we're not even going to cover that. We're just go away. And they do it.
I've had lawyers literally tell me it's a conflict of interest. They can't do it. I've had lawyers tell me they won't even practice in Marion County. It's a boys' club. What is left is when a parent or a family member is digging for answers, and the answers you're finding leaves to your imagination of what really is going on. When the numbers don't match, when news reports don't match. Yeah, there's a lot of rumor around town, but sometimes there's rumors are really what's going on. So what do you do with your children? Don't go to that area. Don't go to Brookfield over. When you have little ones that you should say, you're in trouble, run to a police officer or run to a sheriff. I'd rather them run to the stranger sometimes, because that's what it feels like. You just hope you get the right officer that's going to do something to help you. I get to the point now, reclusive, don't leave. I can't rely on the state of Florida to help with these answers. I don't know that I'm going to stay here. Yeah, he says we're here for 2 years. 18 months, that 2 years. It's digging up files and trying to understand what is going on here, that I can't enjoy that life. I can't enjoy the beaches, the sunshine, the birds singing, because I want answers to what happened to my daughter. I now want answers for the rest of these mamas who's going through the same battle. I'm going to advocate for my daughter. I'm going to advocate for all of those people at the same time.
You know, ma'am, and that's the reason why community is so important. You know,
Where I come from, it is. But here, I don't know anybody.
You know some pretty influential people to this table, ma'am.
Well,
And we got an audience here, and what we
but
gonna
I know
do,
some
ma'am?
pretty influencers, mamas that have lost children
That's right.
that need that help.
And what we gonna do, ma'am, we gonna continue to rally. It doesn't stop tomorrow.
No.
You know, we all hope and we pray that Mr. Busby can become our sheriff.
I voted.
But I remember a story out of the Bible. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. No, maybe I'm thinking about, yes it is. I'm thinking about Daniel, got thrown into the lion's den. And Daniel told him, Nebuchadnezzar, he said, even if he chooses not to deliver me, you just know that he's able to. And with that being said, even if Mr. Busby don't be elected, he still love and care for this community. He still is in your corner. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
This is a man that truly cares. He could have stayed gone. He could have been, West Palm Beach? He could have been in West Palm Beach. This is a man.
I thank you for your time. But I'm going to still be here tomorrow and the next day. And the next day screaming for all these children.
Excellent.
That's right.
Excellent.
And can I just add one thing? Because I know it's getting late, and I really appreciate everything you guys are doing for us today.
I do.
And all the other families. I have a problem with integrity. I am a loyal person. You must have integrity. If you don't have integrity, you don't have, as a person, as a man. I shake your hand and I make a deal with you, that deal stays. I tell you I'm going to do something, I do it. May not be that very second, but as soon as I can get to it, it'll get done. I'm a hunter. I'm a fisherman. I believe in conservation and hunting, not only for food, but also to conserve the animals so they don't starve, whatever. When I see a sheriff that gets charged for baiting turkeys and tries to pay the guy or talk to, maybe not pay the guy, maybe I misspoke.
It was just
but
special
at least
treatment.
Try to get the game commission officer, which I have so much respect for that man. I never met him, but I would love to get him to say, oh, that never happened. That game commission man, he had so much loyalty to his job, so much respect for what he does, and so much integrity, he went afterwards and got him for baiting.
So you trying to tell me our sheriff
Yeah.
of Marion County?
Yes.
You
Was
haven't-
charged
You haven't seen that
with
video?
baiting wild turkey. That is a guaranteed fact.
You haven't seen the video?
No, ma'am.
It's
I
on my
haven't.
Facebook. And so was a news report.
So you trying to tell me the man that stands up every Tuesday, Wednesday, and looks to you know you have vivid animal lovers, you know, you got people that love pets and animals and feel just as diligent about that pet and animal as one may feel for their own loved one.
I understand that.
You can have women that can't have children that love their pets as if they were their child. So it goes back to the statement that was made at the debate. It depends on what that meant to that person, whether it was a robbery or a stolen ink pen. He said all crime is the same depending on what it means to that person. So the person that's the animal lover, they love turkeys. They want to preserve the turkeys. You understand what I'm saying? So
the whole purpose
crime is crime. The point we're making is, if you're going to hold someone accountable, you got to hold yourself accountable.
Well, turkey hunting is not illegal. Baiting it is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
And you have seasons for any animal that you hunt so they can spawn, they can have their children, and they can do what they have to do so they can have upbringing to keep them on this earth and keep them prosperous and keep them from overpopulating. Baiting them in, how do you know they weren't too young and he took out turkey that wiped people out?
Yes, this William Robinson, Talk Love Communication. You want to chime in on the conversation tonight?
I don't want to give any names, but if I don't get my daughter's story out there, it's not going to help other people. And April's been a very big support for me.
You got this, girl.
for the last year and a half. I think that the community needs to be aware. On September 9th of 2022, I was given a random Facebook message that my daughter was found dead in the woods of an overdose and told to call the sheriff's office. I did. The person who returned the call to me was Sheriff Woods. And he told me no one had been found and that if anyone ever had been, don't worry, that they'd be first to contact me. Almost 6 months to the day later, February 6th then of 2022, I received a message of a screenshot that there was a death threat on my daughter's life. And 4 weeks later, my daughter died of, or what was given what was more than likely an intentional hot shot. The police called a phone number they thought was my phone number. They reversed 2 digits to the end, so the following day I was called on my mother's phone by the hospital to meet with the crew that was there because my daughter was on a ventilator. When I asked for someone to come from the sheriff's office and meet me there at the hospital, I showed them the messages from the people that were in the home where my daughter died, and a specific name and person was supposedly there, and the officer there told me, oh, absolutely, that person wasn't there. I have since tracked down and contacted that person myself. That person did inject my daughter with a fatal drug. My daughter lived for 3 weeks on hospice, suffering, and was supposed to have an autopsy. The medical investigator said since she lived for 3 weeks, they weren't going to do an autopsy, and they ruled my daughter's death presumable meth toxicity, which there was no methamphetamine in her system in the tox screens. And so I finally had a nerve about a year after to call the medical examiner's office, and they went back through where I had told the investigator that it was more than likely a hot shot, that her life had been threatened, and that she told me that they were doing that here. And the medical examiner, within a day and a half, changed, after going through over 200 pages of records of ICU and the police reports, changed my daughter's death to undetermined and told me to contact the sheriff's office and let them know. My daughter's case was never reopened. We will never, ever know what really happened to my daughter, but it's time for people to know that they have to investigate. You cannot just... I was told that when I showed the threats, I was told that they're all just delusional drug addicts. I thought that too, kind of, until that my daughter was on a ventilator. So, no, it needs to be investigated. And I just wanted to make sure that you knew there are other things out there that, I know it's very hard to prove, but it still needs to be investigated. And I'd like, before I cast a vote of any kind, I kind of need the assurance that these are the things. I mean, we have missing people out there, that there's rumors that are out there in the woods and everything else, that they also have received hot shots and have been dumped out there. Something's going on, and something's bad. And, as a mother, I don't want my daughter's death to have been in vain, so I'm speaking out, but I don't want to release her name. I'm sure they can figure it out anyway, but I did want you to know.
Ma'am, we want to thank you for your courage, ma'am. We want to thank you for your due diligence. We send sympathy. Lord, we wish that you have some peace, ma'am. And I know it's hard. It has to be hard. I can only imagine. I'm very sympathetic to the families that I've met, throughout this process. And it's funny. I'm a God-fearing man, and I believe that everything happens for a reason. And even me meeting Mr. Busby and
right. And you've commented that you've lived here for life, so you're very well aware. I dug very, very deep for 2 years. You're very, very well aware. There are very huge rumors that there are people that have been just disposed of out on he's 40 out in the woods. And I'm hearing that over and over. So I don't know why, but something's not right.
And and it's time for a change, ma'am. And it starts tomorrow. It starts tomorrow. August the 20th, Tuesday, August the 20th. It starts tomorrow. It's all about priorities. And if we tired of hearing these stories, we have to prioritize. I understand, the light bill may be due, or we may work from this time, or, the daycare charge a little extra. But what we have to do is prioritize these things. We have to prioritize, because if we're talking about 4 more years.
I think the real thing too is like I know you see with April, I know we see with Sarah Ebersol's sister, myself, who for 2.5 years have been digging and digging on my own, and I've come up with so much that if I could track down somebody and they admitted to they injected that shot in my daughter, why wasn't that already done by someone else?
That is correct, ma'am.
If I could do that. So, and whether people know the law or don't know the law, if I was able to do that, even if they couldn't prove it, maybe he wouldn't get convicted. But the bottom line is that attempt should have been there. If you inject somebody with a fatal drug, that is a crime.
That is correct.
Why is it in one case phone records are used to prove guilt and they're arrested, but in another case they're not? I mean,
yes, I understand what you're saying.
It's just
who
decides how far the investigation goes?
And I will. It's even in my mother's obituary, because that's how she was. Every life is worthy. Every life, and I think that is something that needs to be communicated strong and clear. We are not God. We do not have those rights.
That's correct, ma'am. And I feel so sorry for your loss, ma'am. And once again, I really appreciate your call. But we're going to make a change,
I appreciate you also.
We thank you very much for your call, ma'am. And remember, if no one told you they love you today, ma'am, William Robinson loves you, ma'am.
Hugging you, Mama.
Oh, love you too.
Yes, ma'am.
Love you too, April. Okay.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We find ourselves with these phone calls, and each and every phone call, each and every person that's sat at this table, you can close your eyes. Just wipe away the person that's talking, and it's the same story. It's the exact same story.
I close my eyes, I see multiple people. Because I've been on them pages, I've been in touch with them families. All those stories are important.
Yes, they are. But the service that everyone is getting is the same.
Lack of.
It goes back to, if everyone's saying the same thing, they ain't lying.
Yeah, there is that saying, yes. If more than one says it, there's got to be something behind it. It may not be 100%, but at least 99 of it is right.
For part of the 18 months, I actually thought I was going crazy. They were gaslighting me so bad that I thought, you know what? Until I started researching and finding other families, I thought I was the only family going through it. This stuff's written in movies.
You wanted to call in the show?
I mean, how many other people can have the same story? Their daughter's gone and missing, things are stolen, her phone is used, bank accounts.
I'm going to announce you in 1 second, sir.
And then how many other people I find on these same stories?
Yes, we have another caller here. Sir, do you want to make a comment and statement tonight, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead. You're live on air, sir.
All right, sorry to hear you. I apologize for that. For both parties, what would you do if somebody trespasses on your property, enters your house?
Okay, can you repeat your question, sir?
For both parties, what would they do if somebody trespasses on your property, you got no trespassing signs, and enter your house?
Okay, his question to the panel today is, what would you do if someone was to trespass onto your property and enter into your home?
Well, me personally, I am a true believer in my Second Amendment and the stand your ground law, but you also have to realize there's two sides to that coin. You have to have fear for your life, and it has to be reasonable. So, depending on what happened, if I could just take them down and hold them until somebody got there without any reasonable way, then that's what I would do. If it comes to something more extreme and it comes to my family, they come first. Sorry.
Okay.
Exactly. Now, who was that, sir?
That was Al.
That was who?
Al.
Al.
I think he was asking him.
Oh, so who are you referring the question to, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry. You said everybody.
Billy Woods and Mr. Milton, sir.
Mr. Busby, okay. So you want to repeat the question once again so Mr. Busby can answer that, sir?
What would you do if somebody trespasses on your property with no trespassing signs and enters your house?
Well, I can tell you this. I sure hope that it's an emergency and they don't need medical service, because if they enter my house with no trespassing sign, they're going to need medical service. So
exactly. So I want to know why Billy Woods sheriffs would not do nothing.
I can't answer that question, sir. I don't know the situation, but you got my answer.
Exactly, and that's why I'm supporting you. And I'm just like, I call because we're ran off the road and I got dash camera footage. The sheriffs won't do nothing. I don't know why the sheriffs were dispatched. But just because no cosmetic damage to my car cost $2,000 in mechanical bills alone, and the sheriffs won't do nothing, and my kids were screaming, and I got dash camera footage, and yet I requested for who? Billy Woods and the supervisors. Did anybody show up? No. I had to fork out $2,000 out of my pocket to repair the car because of dereliction of duties.
That's right, sir. And we empathize for you and your situation, sir, and the service that you receive. But that's why it's so important. One thing that Mr. Busby guaranteed when he first spoke to me, he said he felt as though the people of Marion County deserve a choice. They deserve the right to choose. They deserve the alternative to what they've had. And that's something that he's promised us. And this been a long race. And we almost at the finish line. But he's a little tired, a little weary. You got that runner. We need some cheers. We need some votes. When you're running and that man about to pass out. When you hear mom in the stands, when you hear dad in the stands, when you hear communities in the stands, when we hear phone calls like this, that give him a little extra juice. Push him on. We're going to push Busby on across this finish line.
I'm going to do more than push for him.
You going to pick him up and tote him cross?
If I have to, that's what I'll do.
Okay.
I am sick of how the system is and how tyrannical these sheriffs are for dereliction of duties. I just had my neighbor that Billy Woods and his officers would not arrest for trying to assault me on my property, to come find out he had 4 outstanding warrants from 2012. And these people would not arrest this guy, and I had witnesses.
If he had the warrants, why wouldn't they arrest him?
He had 4 outstanding warrants. But when he jumps up on my fence, this drug addict, he's pointing at me, cussing me out. Yeah,
It must be in the springs. Oop, never mind.
Sir,
I got some serious issues. When these sheriffs won't do nothing, I got witnesses.
well, I tell you what, sir. We gon' as a community, we gonna get down to them polls, and I can guarantee you that you will receive better service. We gonna have to give him time now because
We're piling it on.
it got to be some time to be able to weed out what need to be weeded out and understand the leadership that's what's at hand. But it will be a change. There will be a difference. It's going to be accountability. It's a man of integrity. He give you his word, he going to stand on it. And like he said, if he can't do it, he going to come back and tell you why he can't do it.
And I'd appreciate that. And from a military veteran, I hope Milton kicks his behind. Because obviously Mr. Woods and his team don't have any morals, loyalty, duty, respect, honor, courage.
That almost sounds like an oath, don't it?
Yes, it does.
Sir, I tell you what, sir, we sympathize and empathize with you and your situation. And, and that puts you in a tough spot because you got good law-abiding citizens like yourself that's placed in these situations. And when you respond and you react, all of a sudden you're arrested. When things can be prevented, you're trying to only do the right thing for what's right in your own property, your own home.
Exactly, and I got kids, and these drug addicts are cussing at my kids, telling them to get off their property when my kids are down visiting my dog's grave. And that's a good 50 feet from the property line. I don't know what is wrong with these people. I don't know what is wrong with Billy Woods and his so-called sheriffs, but I've had enough.
That's right, enough is enough, sir. And you also have something else. You have a vote. And your vote counts.
It's not just me. It's a matter of these other people standing up and making this world better, because obviously Billy Woods isn't.
That's right. That's right.
Probably too busy shooting
You need to
TV
say that
shows.
to the ones in the back.
Ma'am?
You need to say that louder to the ones in the back.
Everyone needs to hear that. We gonna shout this thing from the mountaintop, man. And we gonna do. We thank you for your call, sir. Thank you very much for your call. Appreciate you for calling the show. And your opinion count. And remember, if no one told you they love you today, sir, William Robinson loves you, sir.
All right, well, I thank you for your time, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Same to you,
too,
sir.
too.
Thank you, bye.
Once again, that's an excellent call from a citizen in Marion County. It's the same story. By now everyone knows my story, people can change, I remember my mom used to tell me, she say, son, time heal all wounds, son. Time heal all wounds. But certain things, it cuts deep when someone don't have no compassion for you. The ones that you look to, the very people that you look to for help, for comfort, for results in the time of need. And when you feel as though you let down, I have a question I used to ask people. Why do we forgive a friend quicker than we forgive a loved one? And the answer I kept getting is because they know better. It was a feeling of betrayal, And I could only imagine that's how you feel betrayed by the lack of service that you've received. And because of that lack of betrayal, it's hard to get closure. It's hard to let it go. That's the reason why Mr. Carpenter sit here and say he feels as though he lost not only his daughter, but his wife. Because of the closure she's not receiving. And it's not fair. You know, life is not fair, but we want it to be fair. We want it to be right. We want this is the sunshine state. You know, we want the sun to be shining every day. But sometimes it rains.
Tears from heaven.
Sometimes it thunders. Right, Mr. Ball?
That's correct.
You know, but what we have to do is be prepared. And what we gonna do as a community, we gonna iron them clothes in the morning, tonight, so we can be ready for in the morning. We ain't gonna be late in the morning. We gonna request them 30 minutes off early. Matter of fact, you know, you let them know this. I'm going to do this. We need to get down there and vote, man. Make a change, man. Do you understand the laws that's being put in place to make it difficult for you to vote?
You also realize that they don't want anybody overseeing them. They had an oversight committee, and they want it gone. Or it is gone now.
They don't
correct?
have one for Marion County.
They don't have
It's
one
further
in
south.
Marion County. The state of Florida was trying to get rid of it at one point. You need oversight. Not only, don't take this the wrong way, Mr. Busby, I just met you. You seem like the greatest guy I've met in a long time, and I'm being honest. But if I found out that you was doing something dirty, I'd want to be the one on the board going, hold him responsible.
There you go.
And as sheriff, you should take, and I know you would because you're a military man, you would take responsibility because that's what a real man does. They take responsibility for their own actions. My younger days, I screwed up. I got in trouble. You know what? I stood up. I did what I had to do. Turned myself around, and here I am today. Not the greatest person in the world, not the richest person in the world, but I'm a good role model for my children, I believe. I helped so many people I couldn't even tell you, charity-wise and whatnot. I try to do good. This woman right here changed that because I used to be a dirt snake at the very best. And she's the one that told me you need to be nice to people. And I've always told her people suck. I don't like people. I don't want to be part of it. And she turned me around. And now this happened. Now I'm on the other side. And I don't know how to change that. And we can't change that. But what we can change is this happening to someone else. This not allowing an individual that's done something here to skip off to another state and do it to another girl exactly what he did to my daughter, which no names are mentioned, but it did happen, have a PFA, change that, got popped on that twice, and they kept letting him go. And he's still running free in Connecticut.
8
8 times he's been charged with different things. And this is the one that they let go and said, oh, they weren't arguing. But the same exact things happen in there, but they won't even look at it.
Just changing.
That's a problem to me. I'm sorry, I don't want to take over your whole committee thing. I get it, but I'm looking at this man, and I look him in the eyes, and I feel connected to the point where I believe what he says. And I'm usually a pretty good reader of people.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Let me
You're
let
right.
me give clarity.
Thank you.
You're right.
You talked about the oversight. The advisory committee would not be the oversight. But however, there was a law, I believe, the governor signed that talks about oversight. Somewhat limited, but policy driven, making sure the agency's policies are lined up. But it comes down to this.
Hey.
If I'm doing
Hey.
exactly what the community wants, it's no problem for the community to come out and talk to me. There's nothing to hide.
Come look over my shoulder, baby. I'm right here.
Just come and look. Exactly. There are no issues. And that's what I appreciate you bringing to the table, because we don't have enough folks engaged making sure that we stay on the right path. And not saying that every, sheriff is not on the right path, but we got to have someone take a look just to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do.
I care what affects me. I care what affects my
Yes,
children, future grandchildren.
100%. And I don't want people looking at my brother-in-law as a bad guy because he's a cop, and he's a damn good cop. He's been doing it for years. My little brother, which is technically not blood, but we grew up together, he's also a cop. He does well for everybody. These guys are the ones that you want out there, and the people that are controlling them are the ones making sure that they're doing right. You don't have that here. I don't want my family members, any of them, being looked down on as if you would your military guys that get blamed for going someplace and tearing it up when they're going to do what they have to do, which anybody that took the oath knows you follow your commander-in-chief. You don't have a choice. But I don't want you guys getting a bad name. Billy Woods is giving everybody a bad name because he's not controlling this situation.
It's not just him. The deputies aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. Detectives, whatever
Right?
it is.
But when
it's
he
a combination.
when you go to the, not FDLE, the Sheriff's Association, and he's at the top of it, who's going to look over him? Himself?
Yeah, that was nice to learn.
I mean, think about that. He's the head of the Sheriff's Association, and I want to make a complaint against him. How far is that going to go? Nobody can answer me that. He won't answer me that. And I let my wife do a lot of spearheading because I can get very hot-headed.
There's much more to dig
I
up.
can say a lot of things I really shouldn't say, and there's times I want to do things I know I can't do. So I allow her, and I try to stand behind her. I don't allow her, excuse me, that came out wrong. But I try to stand behind her, but there's a point now where I'm bubbled over. This guy, I swear yesterday we went to go vote, and I voted for you. I'll say it. I don't care. I ain't scared. But sheriff officer pulled in, and the first thing I thought was, please let it be him, because I'm jumping out this car, and I'm telling him exactly what I think. And I literally had my car door open, and the gentleman jumped out of his truck to go in and vote. And I said hi to him, he said hi to me, and he walked away. Thank God that was the case. And I'm not a God-fearing man. I'm not a big religious man. I shouldn't say not, but not a big religious person. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, it wasn't him, because I probably would have got arrested yesterday, because all this new stuff that's been coming and it still keeps getting washed underneath the rug. I think we're dealing with cleaners, not cops. There's a problem with that. They need somebody with integrity. They need somebody that's going to hold their own and hold their own responsible for the actions.
You know, Miss April, you know, when you think of Mr. Busby, you know, your encounters with him, if you listen to him, if you watched over this campaign, what do you gain? What's your perception, ma'am? What do you feel?
I hold a conversation with a person, and when they can hold eye contact with me, and they're not sitting in a lump with their arms crossed like this, giving me just...
Arrogance personified?
Yes. I'm in a much more relaxed, you're listening, you're taking it into heart. I'm watching you scribble notes. I'm watching you take the information. In 18 months, I haven't had anybody do that. Except for my friend in Pennsylvania who's worked this case with me.
You know,
his character has been warm, has been kind. I did meet him one time before this.
And how was that encounter?
He has a little room because he was taking his wife home from a procedure. But it was enough that he took my information. And he's here again today on a very short notice, unplanned notice, to take the time to meet with me and my family.
That's right.
I know where my vote's going. He may not be able to fix what happened. He may be able to look into it. Either way, my daughter's name, my daughter's story, and Jessica's story, Derek's story, Sarah's story, Simon's story, they're all out there. Whether it be tonight or going forward, I'm going to still advocate for every one of them and hope whatever happens after Tuesday, this doesn't continue.
Amen. Okay, Mr. Ball,
Yes, sir.
what have you gathered from the night? And you've been knowing this man a long time. And we're going to see, I know you got a lot to say. And we're going to ask Mr. Busby, don't interrupt you this time. But I know you've been knowing him for a long time. And we want to know, who are we getting? I perceive you to be a very wise man. I met you. All you know, you ain't know me. I'm a big old black guy in a little white car. It's ironic, huh? But you seen that Busby sign on that door.
Mm-hmm.
And you knew we had something in common.
Absolutely.
And that was the buzz.
The buzz.
So tell us about the buzz as you buzz your vote.
All I can say about Busby is that he's a man of his word. If he tells you something, it's going to be done. And it was, in the military, like I said, we communicated together, which makes a big difference. That way we know what each section is doing, we know what each platoon is doing, and we can work out problems. If there's a problem, everybody's right there, and we can work it out right then, and then proceed. And that's the way he is. If there's a problem, he wants it fixed right now. And that's what we did.
Let me ask you a question. What was the difference? People change. Everyone can't handle authority. When you met Mr. Busby as the whippersnapper, or when you was his commander.
I wasn't his commander. I was just teaching him something, that's all.
And he often, it's amazing what, sometimes when you're an authoritative figure, you don't know what you mean to the other person. It's things that my football coach said to me 32 years ago that sticks with me today. I've carried throughout my life, and he's just a man coaching football and putting into my life. And Mr. Busby has constantly spoke of you before I met you. He would always talk about you. And he would always give the story about that truck. About the time when he wanted to drive it or something, and you asked him, had he maintenance it or whatever, and he said, no, you told him, get your butt, you know what I'm saying? And you held him accountable. So
right.
Tell me, what was the difference from the soldier and the sergeant? Or did he maintain his same, because integrity don't change. No matter where you at on the pedestal, your integrity is your integrity. Mm-hmm. And I believe him to be a man of integrity. So talk to us about that, sir.
No doubt about it. I mean, I can't say enough about the man, because he cares and he just has compassion, but yet he's stern. If he wants something done, we get it done. And we were a big family. Mm-hmm. I mean, we 160 people, and we was a family. Even before we went to Iraq, we were a family. And we got closer as we were in Iraq, because everybody depended on everybody. And this man here is the one that made everything happen.
He's a glue.
Yeah.
And he even speaks himself of, he believed that he's not afraid to bring people up under him. He's not afraid of someone else getting attention and shine and light. Cause Mr. Busby don't too much care to be in the light.
No,
he rather listen. He rather listen. You can learn a lot from listening.
Yes, you can.
And listening and hearing is two different things. You want to say something, Mr. Carpenter? Mr. Carpenter?
I think I was Counterman, but I might be Carpenter by now. I don't know. It's been a long night. I'm just agreeing. I'm sorry. I'm nodding my head. That's probably a noise you hear. It's just the rocks bouncing or whatever.
It's okay, sir.
I look at this man. I look in his eyes and I see his integrity. I listen to his stories. Again, I did what I did. I tried. I couldn't get there. but I went through the same battles in fire companies and ambulance crews. You go with that crew. That's your men. You rely on them.
Correct.
And it takes a leader, if it's 5 of us running into a burning building or 150 going in the field. It takes one man to make sure it's right.
And that's the man. And he
That's
made
right.
it
Where's your
right.
boat? Okay, we have another caller here on Talk Love Communication. You want to give your input?
Sure. My name's I'm an audience. It's like the mid-tier. Oh. This night should be fun now. This is heartbreaking to me. At the same time, I know that we've got a lot of listeners here that weren't here last night. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to share with everybody that hasn't had the opportunity to really get to know Bud.
You say you want to take the opportunity to really get to know Mr. Busby?
No, I have gotten to know Bud.
Okay, you have gotten to know him. And what's your take from that, ma'am? Getting to know him, what's your perception?
I was one yesterday that was talking about Buzz calling me 3 or 4 times a day, every day to check on me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You know, I've known Buzz for, I don't know, 6 months, 7, 8, I don't know, time flies. But I had a meeting with Buzz one day when I found out he was running for sheriff. We actually had lunch together. And I shared with him, I've been dealing with my matter for 8 years.
Okay.
It's not as horrific as what I'm listening to with these mothers. I can't. This is breaking my heart. It's horrific. I just can't even imagine what they're going through. My story's different. It has to do with the death of my father and the theft of his trust and estate. So, you know what, this is something that it's not worthy of these calls now. But people do need to know that this is happening out there. But what I wanted to do was just share with people that I personally know Buzz and the compassion that he has. You know what, I love that man like he's my brother.
Amen.
I can't even say enough good things about him. This man has come through for me in ways that, well, I can't even say because that's just something between Buzz and I, but I just can't even tell you. We would be so fortunate to have this man in the change of the guard. We need this. And I would ask before we close for tonight if someone would please lead a prayer. And that if we could everyone hold hands and now I know you said you're not a religious person. Brother, I'm not religious either, but I'm very deeply spiritual. You know, God lives in my conscience. My Creator lives in my heart. You know, and we're all in this together. You know, so, and I do feel like this is our tribe because we got a whole lot of them out there against us. We all have to stand together, and together we will prevail.
I agree with that, ma'am. That is correct, and you know, it has to feel wonderful. Like you say, you've been dealing with your situation for 8 years. You met Mr. Busby about 6 months ago, and you know this man continues to reach out to you. You say 3-4 times a day to check on you, to make sure you're okay. And within these 6 months, he's been campaigning and doing everything he could do to go up against Goliath. But still yet, he finds the time to reach out to you, ma'am. And that's the man that we trying to elect. That's the man that's sitting to this table today. That's the man that we need leading this county. A man we can count on.
And Will, I want to thank you for this platform. I feel like this was heaven sent. You know, I wish we would have started this
some time ago. And then please don't stop this, because when the election's over, we need this. We need you. You're a vehicle for us.
I found it by
Look at this
accident.
every day. We've got new victims coming forward. There's got to be so many more of us out there.
Yes, ma'am. And I plan on doing that, ma'am. And it's amazing that you would make that statement that this is heaven sent, because it definitely, most definitely is heaven sent. You know, God himself told me to do this. You know, I didn't even know what the word podcast was. I never heard of it in my life. You know, when I went to prison, it was 2003. You know, and what was a podcast? You know, and I was a little disobedient like Jonah, and Jonah got swallowed by the big fish, and I fell and broke my leg. And as I laid in that bed, I said, well, Lord, if you allow me to walk again, I promise you I'll podcast. And not knowing nothing, they talking about go to YouTube. What is YouTube? Facebook? What is Facebook? I don't know nothing. And but I learned, man. You know what I'm saying? I pushed it, and I fought, and here I am today. You know, and even when Mr. Busby asked me to do the media for his campaign, he said he prayed about it, and God led him back to me.
Amen.
So it's a whole lot of the Lord in this thing. And Mr. Busby made a statement this afternoon. He said that, how do you make that statement? What is it, Mr. Buzz?
I make so many, I'm not sure.
You made the statement of you follow the path, but God directs it. What was it?
Yeah. I choose the path, but God choose the destination.
That's right.
Amen.
I like that.
And
I
you know,
like that.
and this man spoke of him running for sheriff when he was 17 years old.
Yeah.
So, you know, almost 50 years ago, he's a young man, 17 years old. He walked up to the current sheriff and tell him, I'm going to take your job one day. You know, and
Sheriff Moreland.
And that's amazing. Let's think about that statement and the fact that he sits here today, less than 24 hours from becoming the sheriff of Marion County. You talking
He's
about...
a man of his word, Will. He's a man of his word.
That's right. So, ma'am, we want to thank you for your call, ma'am.
Yes.
I'm quite sure Mr. Busby probably told you today, but if ain't nobody else told you they love you today, ma'am, William Robinson loves you, ma'am.
Love you back. I love you all.
Love you,
ma'am.
sweetie.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your call, ma'am.
Thank you, Buzz.
You're welcome. You got it.
I'm going to iron my clothes so I can be there first thing in the morning.
That's right. Get them clothes on. That's right.
Hey, don't tell my dad, but just go wrinkled.
Yes.
The sun will fix your wrinkles.
You all gonna convert me the way you're going here pretty soon, you know.
You know, so what we're going to do right here, we're going to individually look into the camera. We're going to give our final thoughts. You know, we're going to start from left to right. Oh, we have another caller here.
Oh, you know who that is? I don't know who it is.
Yes, this is William Robinson, Talk Love Communication. You want to chime in on the topic tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead. You're live, sir.
Alrighty, so I just wanted to start by saying thank you for everything y'all are doing.
Better
Thank you
sing happy
for
birthday.
letting my lovely parents on your show here. I've been watching them on the big screen. Super proud of them. Super happy that they are actually around. And the look my dad just gave me when he heard my voice. But I really wanted to just kind of come on the phone and just hope to tell everybody that they need to get their right vote in for the right person. In this place that we are, with everything that I've gone through, everything my family's gone through, I've been trying to just kind of be strong for my family. I've been going through a lot as well. And I always just kind of feel the spot of, I wish you can go back to that day. Nothing could ever change the day of what had happened and what had gotten taken from us. But I will say from this point on that I hope everyone in this county and everyone understands that they need to make a change before it happens to someone that they love deeply. I will say.
Yes, sir. You sound like a very wise young man, and your dad shaking his head no, but as I sit here and I watch your sister here and you here, listening to you today, that also let me know that your sister was a very fine young lady herself, and we're just regular people. We're just people. We just, regular tax-paying people, man. We just want what we deserve. None of us, your family, you, sir, your sister, your parents, y'all didn't ask to be in this situation.
Yes,
And we as a community, we're going to wrap our arms around you and love you. This platform is always here for you. We here, we love you, man, and I appreciate you, bro. You sound like a strong young man. You being there for your father and your mother, man, and your sister, man. That's very important. That's a man. And maybe one day, when you meet Mr. Busby here after he becomes sheriff, you can walk up to him and tell him, one day I'm coming to take your job. What you say?
I respect everything that man and I can respect everything that all y'all are saying at that table.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything that y'all do and everything and all the help that you help. Not even just with my sister's case, with everyone else's case, just in general. Any topic you may cover through the whole series of what you do, it's hats off to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
And no, he can't have his job because I won't have nobody fix my Harleys.
You got a Harley?
Yeah, a couple, yes.
Now, Mr. Busby here he was a state trooper. Now he rode the motorcycle.
I saw a picture of that.
Okay. So what we're going to do here, we thank everyone. We're going to start. Matter of fact, we're going to go ladies first. We're going to do this the right way. And Miss April, you're going to look into that camera there, directly into that camera, ma'am. And you're going to give your final thoughts, your last words, and whatever you want to say to the community, ma'am.
I know you've heard a lot of stories, and there are many more untold. But come tomorrow morning, and you go to cast your vote, make sure we're voting for a change. Make sure that your voice counts.
You're not saying anything.
I know. It's a lot of emotion.
Lips are moving and the voice ain't coming out.
But please go cast your vote for the right person. Make sure that we get that change. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Al?
I gotta look at that, you poor camera.
I know.
The only thing I can honestly say is throughout all my years, and unfortunately there's been 52 of them, that I've met a lot of different people. I've been friends with senators and congressmen and officers and you name it. I'm not, trying to name drop, but from one end of the spirit to the other. And I can look at you and I get a feeling of, it's going to sound really weird coming from another man, but comfort and security, because I can feel your empathy while you hear these stories. I can see your actions, your reactions. I can hear in your voice when you speak to people, and I could just see that you are a natural leader the way that you speak. I'm impressed. I know you don't know me, so it probably means nothing to you. But I don't impress that easy. And for the little bit I've known you, all I'm saying is anybody in Florida, in Marion County, if you don't vote for this guy and you know who I am, forget who the hell I am. This man is the future of our county. He better be. And if he's not, then we need to make sure that when it comes around next time, he is. Because I just found this guy. I've been here. I'm just setting my roots down. And when my roots get growing, I'll have a lot of backup by the time I'm done. So I appreciate everything you've done. Mr. Robinson, I appreciate you more than you'll ever even know.
Yes, sir.
This is all new to me. I don't do this. I'm normally the guy they throw out in front of the camera at an event. Here, go say something. Not the podcast thing, but whatever. I can appreciate everything you brought to light.
Yes, sir.
Again, guys are wearing off on me, but I pray that this man gets voted tomorrow.
Amen. You got a whole community.
I just want you all to make sure that you do your due diligence. Think. Research. Don't be a sheep and just follow somebody because he's already there and it's easier for you. Walk the walk, talk the talk, and you will always be my guy. So thank you for that. And thank you for bringing everything to light. And I appreciate your service and all the information that you've given us on him, because that backs up what I think.
Absolutely.
Which I don't usually think that smart, but tonight I think I'm on cue.
I gave him all the answers before he got here.
She probably did write that down, but I know I didn't do it right.
No, I'm not doing that.
But other than that, let me just say happy birthday. I'm not going to sing for you because the compression on this mic is horrible.
You know, come on. I only got one request for my birthday. You know, a lot of my family called me today and they like, you know, what you doing for your birthday?
Dealing with a dumb fat truck driver?
I said, man, I got a podcast, man. I've been in here trying to get it right. So, I mean, I'm just saying, it would be nice to hear more. You know, there are a couple of people singing, but it's nothing like a group of people.
I know, I heard. You know what? I heard Barry White does a banging happy birthday.
But I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and give Mr. Bob. Mr. Bob, you going to look directly into that camera right there, sir? And you going to give my audience your final thoughts and tell them why you believe in Milton Busby Jr. and the information you heard tonight, sir.
Absolutely. Well, I've known, like I said, Buzz for 40-some years, and I know what he's capable of, and I know that he can do the job, and he will make a big difference in this county, because I've seen what he does. And just vote Busby because he can do the job.
That's right. Okay, that leaves us last but not least. Mr. Busby, you're going to look directly into that camera, sir, and you're going to tell my audience
I had a thought.
why they should believe in you, sir, and what your plans are.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. All right, that's how you do it.
That Barry was kicking though, wasn't it? Man, my candle's lit, let me say.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to put our hands where our vote can see, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're going to do. Bust the bounce station. Bust the rhymes. That's what we're going to do, man. We're going to put our votes where our hands can see, where the people can come together and let us know. You know, when we go in that booth, nobody going to see what you going to do. You know, one thing about it, when you rule with intimidation, those same people, they gonna walk around with a Billy Woods shirt on and go in there and vote Milton Busby Jr. I think a lot of that's gonna happen tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. They gonna have that Billy Woods hat on because they supposed to wear that hat, supposed to wear that shirt. But when they go in there, let me see that hat, Mr. Ball. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands where Buzz can see, y'all. Y'all put your hands over Buzz, man. Put your hands over Buzz. Put them up, Ball. Okay. You don't want Buzz, put your hands up, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen.
I forgot my sticker. I voted.
Put your hands where Buzz can see. If you really want to vote for me, hey, that's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank y'all tonight. Talk, love, communication. Remember, we only got one life to live, ladies and gentlemen. It's a whole lot easier with love.
Oh, perfect.
Communication.
Make Marion County great again. Vote those
Marion
things.
County great again.
It's in the comments. I can't make that shit up.
That's right.
Talk about.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna send a couple shout outs to a couple. I want to thank a couple people. Gail Robinson. We got Camden Connor. We got April. We got Danielle Wilkerson. We have Barbara Emanuel. We got Amanda Yates. We want to thank y'all for joining. We got Morgan. We got AJ Counterman. That's right. We want to thank. We got Adam, Mr. Adam. We want to thank y'all for joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, put your vote so that people can see. Vote Milton Bunker, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have a new sheriff in town, baby. A new sheriff in town. Huckleberry Howard, a new sheriff in town. That's what we're gonna do. I want to thank y'all. Remember, nobody told you they love you today. Queen Robinson loves you.